Welcome to Dog on the Plot. I'm Kerry, this is Dory, and in this week's episode, I'm going to share all the things that worked for me in 2024 and things that I think you might want to try or buy in 2025, plus one thing I definitely don't think you should waste your money on. So let's start with, I think, the high point of my 2024. Now, this bed might not look much right now, but this was the site of some absolute joy in early spring. And that's when I put out my first peas. And that's because I decided this year to try growing peas in guttering. Now, this was a first for me, and I'd seen it done on social media, but to varying degrees of success. So I wanted to give it a try myself. So I sowed in a good length of guttering, in fact, a length that would fit exactly in this bed, although I didn't know it when I did it. And then when pea shoots were nice and tall, I transferred them into this bed. And yeah, I was crossing everything. I didn't have the highest of hopes. And then when it happened, oh my God, what an absolute moment of joy. And you would be forgiven for thinking that that might be a fluke. So I did it again. I sowed again in the guttering. I shook them out and they came out perfectly again. So I am 100% going to be growing my peas in guttering in 2025. And of course, the bonus is that you can suspend the guttering in the greenhouse and keep them safe from rodents. So today's the shortest day of the year and I'm finally getting the rest of my garlic in. And what I'm going to do is treat this bed with some seaweed feed, because I don't use chicken manure or bloodfish and bone or anything like that on my beds because I'm a veganic gardener. So the only sort of feed I had for soil was liquid feeds like comfrey and nettle tea. But this is a dry feed. This is like granules. And it means that I can spread it into the soil and it's a more slow release kind of fertilizer then. So what I'm going to do is I made my holes for the garlic and then I'm just going to pour in a little bit of the seaweed feed into each of the planting holes before I put the garlic in, because garlic is quite a heavy feeder. So I think this might really help it along, especially as it's going in quite late. So if you've been with me for a while, this next one will come as no surprise. It's the Broadfork. And I've had the Broadfork since about May, and full disclosure, it was gifted to me for a fair review. And initial impressions were really good. And I've been using it for the rest of the year. And I have to say, I like it. I like it a lot. I do feel that it's made a difference with my soil, both here and on the old plot at the allotment, especially I think here in the home garden, where I had a really hard time lifting my garlic, if you remember. The soil was so compacted, the garlic was just like as if it was cemented into the ground. And I Broadforked the bed afterwards before I replanted in it. And then when I lifted those things at the end of this year, it was so much easier to do. So I do really think it improved the structure of the soil, and it's supposed to improve aeration and it's supposed to improve water retention and generally be a way to get the benefits of dig while still doing no dig. So yeah, I've been really happy with it so far. Now, I'm not much of a gadget person, but there are a couple of things that I bought for the greenhouse that they're the sort of things that you think, do you really need? But actually, I got a lot of use and joy out of these things. And the first one is a greenhouse thermometer, particularly a greenhouse thermometer that saves the minimum or maximum temperature in your greenhouse. So for instance, the minimum here is 2.2 and the high for today is 8.5 so far, and it's currently 8.5 as well. Now, do I need to know that temperature? Not particularly, and I could just have a normal sort of thermometer. But the joy of coming out here in the morning and checking the temperatures, it's odd. It is odd, but nevertheless, oh, I've gone up to 9.1 because I'm like breathing on it. But yeah, I highly recommend these little greenhouse thermometers. I've really enjoyed being able to check the temperature of the greenhouse. Now, in a similar vein, I also purchased one of these. This is a moisture meter. So you pop this into the soil of your plants and it tells you whether they're dry, moist or wet. Now I bought this for my houseplants and I use it for my houseplants a lot, but it's actually really handy for plants that you keep in the greenhouse as well. Not to mention also the bed in the greenhouse. So I can check if my soil's gone hydrophobic by using the little moisture meter. So both of these, not essentials, but really useful, and I like them a lot. And yeah, my mum bought one of these after I'd got it and she really likes it too, so highly recommended if you've got some Christmas money. A kind of TikTok social media hack that I tried this year and worked perfectly was starting off my dahlia tubers in sandwich bags. Now you might have seen this online and wondered if it works, and I can confirm it absolutely does. And the advantages, of course, is that it is a huge space saver. Put them into like a mushroom tray or something like that, keeps them all compact and together. The other advantage is that you can see the roots growing and you can see the level of moisture in the soil, so you're not overwatering them, and it's really easy to take cuttings then from the sandwich bags as well if you're looking to increase your stock of your dahlias. Now this year I have mulched all my dahlias. I haven't lifted a single dahlia. I've been too busy moving from the old plot to the new plot, so they're under this wood chip in the herb bed here. But I will no doubt be buying more dahlia tubers as we get into the new year, and that's absolutely how I'll be starting them off. Just a mini interlude, because I've noticed that my lingonberry plant has its one berry of the year. Every year I get one berry from this lingonberry plant, probably because I horribly neglect it. But here we go. Doesn't taste much. So it was about this time last year that Dobby's Garden Centre had a sale on these bags of soil enricher. They were £3 a bag. It's called Blooming Amazing. It's vegan, organic, peat-free, and it's specifically designed to use as no dig. So you spread it on top of the soil. It will feed the soil and also act as a mulch, so retaining water and reducing weeds as well. And it worked. I used it on every single bed in my home garden, and I also used it a lot to top plant pots. So if I'd got plants growing in containers, I would dress the top with the mulch because it looked nice, but it would also feed the plants while it was in the tubs. I love this stuff. I really, really liked it. And if Dobby's were selling it for £3 a bag this year, I would be stocking up like crazy. But alas, it's not in stock. I don't know where it's selling it. So if you know where I can get some Blooming Amazing that's not like doubled in price, then let me know. Now with the new plot for 2025, I'm looking forward to doing quite a lot of planning in the new year. But historically, I'm not much of a planner. I tend to just grow things, find a space and put them in. But I am quite a good tracker. And I track what I do in the home garden and at the allotment plots through keeping a diary. And I know there are a lot of these on the market, diaries and journals, some of them produced by other YouTubers, but I really like the Sarah Raven ones because they're so beautiful. They really are pretty. And they're a proper diary inside, and you don't have to use it for gardening, but I do. I put everything in that I sow, everything that I plant out, everything that I buy from garden centres, they all go in these diaries. So I start with 22, which is when I got serious about my garden. And then 23 and 24 include the old allotment plot. And then just today, I bought my diary for 2025. And of course, this will include the new allotment plot. So and it's very beautiful, very pretty cover this year as well. Plus, you wait till Christmas Eve and it's half price in the garden centre as well. So bargain. So this is another greenhouse hack, and it's about protecting your seedlings from mice and slugs and snails, and it's the floating shelf. Now, it took me a little while to get my head around exactly how I make a floating shelf, and Ali and Trish at the Right Pair Plot came to my rescue and sent me some of these fixtures for the greenhouse. So this little bit goes into the tracks of the greenhouse, and then you can use the ring to put some string on and suspend your shelf. And I used a tray So one of these seedling trays, and I placed it at the back of the greenhouse so I wasn't bumping my head on it, and I put on it all the sorts of things that were particularly tasty. So pumpkin seeds, sweet corn seeds, mice love those, and marigolds as well, and lupins, you know, all the things that slugs and snails would definitely go for went on the floating shelf. There was no mice damage, there was no slugs and snails damage, so I shall definitely be doing that again in 2025. So first of all, yes, I am still planting spring bulbs. But second of all, I'm making it a whole lot easier by using one of these long-handled bulb planters. And I've wanted one of these for a really long time. It would have been on my Christmas list for this year, except that Mark went to a garden clearance a couple of weeks ago to pick up a greenhouse, and the guy said, take what you want. And that was one of the things that he took, and he's already got one. So we've got this as a plot one now that we can share between us. And I brought it home so I can make an easy job of putting in these daffodil bulbs. And it basically just took me 5 minutes, didn't Dory, 5 minutes to go all the way along this border, making really deep holes. You can see by the size of that plug there that will just pop straight back in. I've got the depth that you need for a big daffodil bulb like that, which is twice its height. And I've used handheld ones before in the past and just found that they did not work for me. I haven't got the strength to go through what is quite thick clay soil. And also if you're going through grass too, I just don't stand a chance. But this one, you can put your whole body weight on. Yeah, I managed it, even being, if you've probably noticed, I'm slightly ill at the moment. So even being a little bit weak, I was able to do this whole row really easily. And now I can just pop each of those bulbs in the hole and stick the plug back on top, just like that. So I've snuck back onto the old plot in not very nice weather to tell you the one thing I do not think you should be wasting your money on in 2025. Now, if you've followed me this year, you will know that much of the crops that I grew on my plot this year got eaten by slugs. Absolutely mullered by slugs. All of my pumpkins, most of my cabbages, yeah, pretty much anything that could get eaten was eaten. Now, oh boy, I've had to come into the shed, it's sleeting. Oh, anyway, what was I saying? I was saying that I used all the barrier methods that are out there. They do not work. Do not waste your money on strulch. I tried miscanthus grass, I tried volcanic rock, anything that's supposed to be something that the slugs will not crawl over. They will crawl over, or they'll go under and come up the stem, or they'll come off some other plant and onto the one that you don't want to be eaten. So I say, do not waste your money on barrier methods for slug control. But this year, I did figure out a solution to my slug problem. A little bit late in the year, I have to admit, but it'll be great for next year. And it is a barrier method, but it's slightly different to the sorts of things that you would normally buy. And it's this: produce bags. So the sorts of bags that you buy in Sainsbury's, I got some from Aldi, they're like 20, 25p. You use them to put loose veg in and take to the till. But I use them on the plot to put over things like brassicas, and I did pumpkins. So you pop the bag over, you pull, the wind has taken this, you pull it shut around the stem, nice and tight. You do have to tie a knot so that nothing can get up inside. And then that protects your plant from slugs and snails, but also things like cabbage white butterflies. Anything that might want to prey on your plant is protected by the bag. And when the plant gets too big for the bag, then you take it off, and hopefully by that point, the plant is resilient enough to withstand any slug or snail damage. So this was a real game changer this year, and I highly recommend giving it a go if you had a similar problem to me this year. So this final hack is a little bit cheesy, but if you can't be cheesy at Christmas, when can you? And it's to find people who share your passion. And I am so lucky to have family and friends who I can chat gardening with at length, but also help me so much. So Ali and Trish sending me the little clips for the greenhouse. Danny and Claire for sending me replacement pumpkin plants when all mine got eaten by slugs and mice. Becky and Mark, all the help that they have given me in the plot move, just incredible. Thank you. And thank you to you, especially those of you who've subscribed and liked, and especially those of you who leave a comment. I wish all of you lots of festive cheer and a happy new year from Dog on the Plot.